Hello everyone, my name's Jeremy, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to integrate Salesforce with different business applications using Zapier. Zapier is an integration platform that can connect with over 4,000 applications without requiring a single line of code. In the example I'm going to show, a company may need to integrate Salesforce with another application in the sense that their sales team works strictly in Salesforce, but their technical people and the ones who are responsible for possibly manufacturing a product all track their work in another software. The other application that I'll be using in this example is HighGear, which is a no-code workflow automation solution that allows users to securely deploy and manage work at scale. We'll be using Zapier to create a task in HighGear using fields from a Salesforce opportunity once it reaches the price quote proposal stage. This way, product engineering will have their tasks automatically assigned to them as soon as the stage changes in Salesforce. So here we are in Zapier now, where I've created an automation that completes the process that I just described. I'm going to explain each of these 5 steps individually, and then after that we'll run an example so you can see how this would work if used in a business setting. Now that we're looking at the details of each of these steps in this process, we're now looking at our initial trigger step, where Salesforce is waiting for an opportunity to be changed to proposal price quote. Here you can see the initial event that we're waiting for to occur is if an updated field exists on a record. When you connect a Salesforce account to Zapier, it would be ideal that you connect an account that has the privileges to see all of the opportunities that might exist in a given system. That way, when an automation takes place, you won't be missing out on any opportunities that might not be accessible by an account that can't see all the opportunities that are coming into the system. And lastly, here in the trigger, we can see more specifically we're waiting for an opportunity stage to be changed to proposal price quote. And this right here will trigger the Zap to run. Moving on to step 2, all we're doing here is finding the Salesforce opportunity owner's name. This step is important because the opportunity owner's name is eventually going to be entered into HighGear when the task is created over there. In the event, you can see that all we're doing is finding a record. The account that you associate with this step should be the same one that you selected in the first step, and this should remain consistent throughout the entire process. And as for the action here, the Salesforce object that we'll be searching for is a user, and the field to search by should be the contact ID. By clicking into the search value box, you'll be able to see all of the fields that Zapier was able to dynamically pull from the Salesforce opportunity. And you can see here it's listing all of those different fields, but you'll want to be searching by owner ID. Step 3 of this process involves finding the account name associated with the opportunity. The event that will be taking place is the same as in step 2. We're going to be finding a record, and the account that will be doing it is also going to be the same one used in the previous 2 steps. As for the action taking place in this step, we're going to be searching for a Salesforce account by account ID, and in the search value field, we're going to be populating that with the dynamic account ID value field that will be pulled from the first step. In step 4, we'll be creating a task in HighGear using the dynamic fields that have been pulled from Salesforce into Zapier. Just as we connected a Salesforce account to Zapier to create a connection, you'll also have to do the same thing with a HighGear account. When configuring the action of this step, you'll actually be inserting the dynamic values pulled from Salesforce into these different HighGear fields that are being shown. For example, you can see that field contract is pulling data from Salesforce into HighGear, as well as the quote amounts and costs, in addition to other attributes such as the owner name, owner ID, and the client company name. Here in step 5, we're going to be updating the original Salesforce record with the HighGear task ID that was dynamically pulled from HighGear after it created the task in step 4. For the event, we'll be updating a record. For the action in this step, we'll be identifying the Salesforce object that is going to be updated as being an opportunity. And in the record to update field, we're going to insert the dynamic field object ID that was pulled from Salesforce when this Zap was initially triggered. This will identify the correct opportunity to update. The only other field that I'm going to populate in this step is the HighGear task field in Salesforce. This is going to be populated with the dynamic field task ID that was pulled from HighGear when it created a new task based on the Salesforce opportunity. We're back in Salesforce now, where I have a sample record that I've set up and pushed forward to the proposal price quote phase of the sales process. We're about to go back into Zapier and test this so you can see what happens to the Salesforce record and HighGear task as this Zap goes through each one of its steps. We're now looking at the initial trigger step of this process in Zapier, where Zapier was actually able to find the record in Salesforce and pull all of the information specific to it here. In step 2, you'll be able to see that Zapier was able to pull all of the information specific to the opportunity owner in Salesforce, and you can see all of his information here, but most importantly, his name, which is going to be used in a future step, has been pulled forth. Looking into step 3, we can see that Zapier was able to pull the record of the account name associated with the deal. And you can see Beta Solar here, along with all of the other information associated with the company. Now that we're on step 4, we can see that HighGear was able to successfully create a task using the data that was pulled from Salesforce into Zapier, and the task ID in HighGear is task 1729. We're now back in HighGear looking at the task that Zapier has automatically created for us, and you can see that different fields from Salesforce have been brought over and inserted into different HighGear fields that have been set up. We're back in step 5 of our Zap here, where Salesforce was able to successfully have the original opportunity updated with the HighGear task ID. And if we scroll down here, you'll be able to see that the HighGear task ID 1729 has successfully been able to be added to the opportunity. We're now going to go back over to Salesforce to look at what the final opportunity record looks like. Lastly, we've returned to Salesforce to look at the updated record, and the HighGear task ID 1729 has been added to the Salesforce task, which completes the Zap process. This brings us to the end of this tutorial. If you have any questions about this process connecting Zapier to Salesforce, HighGear, or any other business applications, please leave a comment below. And if you have any other requests in terms of tutorials that you would like to see, feel free to also leave them in the comments as well. Thank you.